Welcome to this special report from the 12 News I-Team. 7 days, 1,000 shootings in America. I'm Mark Curtis.
And I'm Karima Devine. In a nation that averages more than 800 shootings every week, the 12 News I-Team focused on a single week, the first week of summer 1 year ago.
And as shootings are so frequent in this country, it feels like each one is drowned out by the shooting that comes next. That's why the I-Team's Erica Stapleton chose to focus on a single week 1 year ago, drilling down on the shootings right here in Maricopa County. And a warning, this footage is important, but some of it might be tough to watch.
Squeezing a trigger.
We're not safe anymore.
Violence. Destroying lives.
He just shot in the door.
Over.
Phoenix police still searching for the shooters.
Shot and killed.
Found dead after a SWAT situation.
And over.
Neighbors who say they heard gunshots during a shooting at a house party.
A man was found dead outside a landfill.
She had been shot by an intruder in her apartment.
Again.
A shooting.
The shooting.
Shootings. 6 people are dead.
One of the toughest things is to tell a 9-year-old that her dad is dead.
Gun violence ending lives and forever changing others.
It has been very difficult trying to figure out how to live life again.
All across Arizona.
Our caseload is very high.
Your chance of being killed by a firearm in Arizona is 1 out of 81.
And the United States.
Kids shouldn't have to live with that risk or that threat.
A year ago in 2022, there were more than 1,000 shootings nationwide, with deaths or injuries in the 1 week span from May 29th to June 4th. The first time that year, shootings surpassed more than 1,000 per week. 12 of those shootings confirmed in Maricopa County.
As opposed to using the word senseless, maybe we could replace that word with let's make sense of what's happening.
A snapshot of the state's struggle with gun violence.
Nothing gets solved.
A look back over the past year.
This world is hard.
Proves that trauma doesn't end after the shooting is over.
And it's broken and it's fallen.
In a way, it's just the beginning.
This is a marathon.
And in some cases, the end isn't even in sight.
You can see who did it. It's just who is that person.
We are joined now by investigative reporter Erica Stapleton, who spent months looking into all the cases that week in Maricopa County. And Erica, what stood out to you?
You know, guys, we noticed right away that 2 things stood out: that a majority of the cases were still unsolved, and that more than 1/3 of those 12 cases involved teenagers. In all, we counted 12 shootings in Maricopa County, 10 people killed, 15 injured, or 25 total casualties in just 1 week. And 1 year later, 8 remained unsolved. For that 4 that were solved, 1 person was killed by police, 1 took their own life after a standoff with police, and the other 2 are homicides that resulted in arrest. And those cases are still working through the courts.
Now, all of these shootings leave an impact, but Erica, is Arizona seeing more shootings than we have in the past?
Unfortunately, yes, and we actually have the data to prove it. If you guys want to come over here and take a look at these charts, you can see we have some data compiled by the Arizona Public Health Association, and you can see from the 2 decades, in 1999 up through 2020, firearm deaths in Arizona have actually been on the rise overall. And that's not the only thing. You can take a look here at the rate of firearm deaths in Arizona from the same 2-decade span, right here in orange, compared to the United States, which is in blue. Arizona has a higher rate of firearm deaths. And if you look over this 2-decade span, you can see that it dips down a little bit in 2014, but then overall it picks back up, and that's not all either. You can see here that Arizona is just a fraction of the total firearm deaths across the country, which have only gone up over the years. We have more than 21,000 deaths over that 2-decade span in Arizona, which is part of more than 736,000 nationwide. And that number continues to go up. And those who are killed, it goes beyond that.
A smile so distinct.
Boisterous and just very full and happy.
Now, just a memory. 39-year-old Dominic Daughtry shot and killed the night of June 3rd, 2022, as he sat in his truck. He was parked at the Alta Vista Village apartment complex near Grand and 39th Avenues. A mystery to his family and police as to why the East Valley dad would be there in the first place.
What was he doing there and what happened?
And his dad, David Daughtry, and sister Tatiana Kaufman No, that's not the only thing investigators have to figure out.
There's a video where somebody just walks up without saying a word and fires 3 shots. But without a name, you're sort of at a dead end.
Dominic was in the prime of his life when this happened, working in construction as a project manager, doing anything for his 9-year-old daughter.
He liked to go out with his daughter and shoot off rockets, and she wanted it pink. And he spent, 6 or 8 hours, getting it the way she wanted.
3, 2, 1.
The void now.
Blast off. Oh my goodness.
Unimaginably immense.
One of the toughest things is to tell a 9-year-old that her dad is dead.
The past year, this case has stumped investigators. No arrests. Phoenix police begging for tips through silent witness.
Somebody was there. We need your help.
And in March, about 10 months after the shooting, investigators put out this surveillance footage, not of the shooting itself, which Dominic's dad said was also captured on camera, but this close-up of someone heading away from the scene. Police want to talk to this guy, but don't know who he is.
It was dark outside. There's not a lot of people on the streets, so that one person that we saw on surveillance camera, we know had to have seen or heard or experienced something.
Phoenix Police Sergeant Brian Bauer is one of the silent witness coordinators in Maricopa County. He couldn't disclose how many anonymous tips came in for Dominic's case, but so far, nothing they've got has led to an arrest.
Too grainy, apparently, to get facial recognition, but people in that complex know who it is. I'm sure people are afraid.
Or people don't care enough to reach out, not recognizing how huge a tip could be for Dominic's family.
One of the biggest problems that they have is trying to find that witnesses that's willing to go in front of a court and speak about what they saw, what they witnessed.
And tips aren't the only concern.
And they told us just even on that first day when the detective came, he said, he was really honest and straightforward, saying a lot of these cases don't get solved.
City data shows Phoenix had 223 homicide cases that year, the most the city's seen over the past 5 years. This week, Phoenix police confirmed that only 127 of those homicide cases from 2022 were cleared by an arrest or exceptional means, about a 56% clearance rate. And officers are inundated not just with murders. Phoenix police data shows officers were called to the block where Dominic was killed more than 400 times in 2022. 14 of those calls were for shots fired or shootings, including Dominic's death.
A crime in a crime-infested area is not going to get the priority. And the longer it goes, the less priority it is.
It's hard to be patient when your son or brother's murder goes months unsolved.
They've been working really, hard on it, and I think the detective's really wonderful.
Yeah, I mean, they're understaffed.
The month after Dominic was murdered, 12 News reported that Phoenix police were down more than 500 officers, and detectives had to be pulled from other cases to help patrol the streets.
There's probably evidence that if they had more people, they could have, gotten, but when it's weeks after, when you finally piece it together and say, oh, I see now where all of it happened, you go back, any evidence is gone by then.
As for DNA, at the time of Dominic's murder, the Department of Public Safety reported its DNA processing backlog was 700 cases, with about a 4-month wait time. Although victims' families, including Dominic's, told 12 News it seemed like they've been waiting longer.
There is some DNA evidence apparently that still has not been processed, and we're at 11 months. And I've been told, by the police department, hey, it takes time.
Over this past year, Dominic's family pushing for a break in the case.
Please, please consider thinking about where you were that night.
Doing all they can to navigate a criminal justice system that can be painfully slow for victims. The killer still out there.
If somebody would do that, they either probably have done it before and will probably do it again.
Looking back at Dominic's distinct smile provides some temporary relief for his family.
All of this is really fragile.
Clinging on to the good times as they tread through these uncertain ones.
Nobody should have to go through that like we have.
If you know anything about Dominic's case, you can contact Silent Witness. That number is on your screen. Coming up after the break, we're looking at how gun violence impacts teenagers. Plus, I had a chance to ask the interim Phoenix police chief about the number of unsolved homicides.
Is that acceptable to you?
That's next.
Welcome back to this special report. 7 days, 1,000 shootings in America. We're continuing our investigation into the 12 shootings that happened that same week here in Maricopa County, where the I-Team found that far too many of these cases targeted teens.
I-Team reporter Erica Stapleton continues her coverage, asking why teens are more likely to die by a bullet in Arizona than any other cause of death.
Safety at home should be a given.
He was liked by everybody. He was so happy.
But nothing is ever guaranteed.
And he was only 15.
DeMarcus Edison.
He was such a sweet kid.
Shot dead.
Outside of his house. How can that happen?
It happened last June, near 13th Ave in Vogel in Phoenix's Sunny Slope neighborhood. Megan Orontes' daughter was his best friend.
And she opens up my bedroom door, and she's screaming, "Mom, they killed him. They killed DeMarcus."
News of the teen's murder, deja vu for Megan and her family.
It just breaks my heart to see my daughter at 14 years old have to bury her brother and her best friend.
Megan's son, Andy Franco, shot and killed at a house party in 2020. He was 18.
I miss seeing his face and hearing his laugh.
She asked me to meet her at the cemetery where Andy is buried.
It's so sad here, you know? I like to bring a little color to it.
His murder, unsolved for 3 years.
How much he's missed. I let him know just to wait for me, and I'll be with him soon.
DeMarcus's about to hit the 1-year mark with no arrests, despite tips coming in.
So in DeMarcus's case, there are people that have come forward saying, I have some information that could be relevant, but are not willing to talk about it in open court.
Absolutely.
Phoenix Police Sergeant Brian Bauer with Silent Witness.
Detectives are just waiting for that last little puzzle piece that can really sum up the probable costs.
Megan can relate, still waiting for a tip that will crack her own son's case.
There are killers out here in Phoenix, and people know that they have killed somebody, and they're not stepping forward, they're not saying anything.
About an hour after DeMarcus Edison was killed, police raced to another scene down the street. Gunfire erupting at a strip mall parking lot party. A 14-year-old girl was killed there, and 8 others were injured. It's one of 5 shootings involving teens Memorial Day week 2022 from May 29th to June 4th. 4 of the cases remain unsolved. In the 5th case, a house party where 18-year-old Luis Torres was shot and killed, police arrested another teen for his murder. The suspect had a criminal history involving firearms and wasn't supposed to have a gun.
In those teen years, it's not common to think about the long-term consequences.
Geronda Montano is an advocate who works with kids and teens.
As opposed to using the word senseless, maybe we could replace that word with let's make sense of what's happening.
She calls the teen years primal.
You have either kids trying to prove something to someone, or kids trying to be something because they want to be looked at a particular way, or maybe because a kid has been marginalized.
And even though there are more discussions now about mental health, support isn't always there, and the COVID-19 pandemic exacerbated everything.
You've got now this heavy pressure of anxiety, depression, social, academic, physical isolation, and here are the outcomes.
It's not a far stretch to connect those dots to a troubling trend in Arizona. According to the state's Child Fatality Review in 2022, firearm deaths surpassed drug overdoses and car wrecks as the #1 killer of kids ages 15 to 17.
Kids shouldn't have to live like that. Kids shouldn't have to live with that risk or that threat.
So how do we get different outcomes?
If they are struggling, they definitely should be talking to someone. That may be a professional, that may be someone at school.
When a child has a gun, either on social media or walking the street or being caught with it in a car, the parents need to be held accountable. I want to see in high schools, in junior high, in elementary school, a hotline where you can call about a child who has access to a gun.
Speaking up.
My son loved to sing.
Megan won't stay silent.
He liked all the rap music.
For her son's sake.
He would write his own music.
And all the other teens killed by guns.
I got this, and then I had it engraved on the side over there.
Her prayer now that others will find their own voices to come forward with the truth.
If everybody stays quiet, nothing gets solved, and you have all these murderers out on the street. We're not safe anymore.
I did talk to DeMarcus's mother over the phone, who said she's afraid to talk to us because she believes the shooter is still out there. She said she just feels like his case wasn't a priority, partly because police had to leave the scene of her son's death to go to another shooting right down the road, which is another unsolved case. A reminder, only 56% of homicides in Phoenix last year are solved, according to police. In June, I asked the interim police chief what he thought about that. Is that acceptable to you?
And I'd have to dig into all that data. Certainly, I want to solve every single homicide that's out there. Year to date, what I would tell you is we're down in homicides. We are continuing to work very hard to make sure that we hold folks accountable.
This was an interview with Chief Mike Sullivan about a new crime prevention plan that actually points to a spike in homicides and gun violence as reasons to make changes department-wide. Time will tell if these strategies will help, but Chief Sullivan says one of the biggest problems are guns getting into the wrong hands. How are prohibited possessors getting guns?
Because there's lots of guns out there. If you're a convicted felon, it's not hard, obviously, to get a gun because we see folks that shouldn't have them all the time. They're derived a number of different ways, whether it be through straw purchasers, people who go out and purchase guns and provide them to individuals, through theft. Unfortunately, it's way too easy for criminals to get their hands on guns.
What does the data tell you?
What my data tells me about prohibited possessors is when we find people that are involved in homicides, when we find people that are involved in situations where we have officer-involved shootings, an incredible amount of them have misconduct and weapon charges in their past.
Those plans to reduce crime seem like movement in the right direction, but what are some of the things available right now for crime victims?
The justice system is incredibly difficult for anyone to navigate, and there are added layers for survivors of gun violence. That's something Vanessa Lopez sees every day as a victim's advocate with the Maricopa County Attorney's Office.
Have you ever worked with people who have been shot and survived?
Yes.
What is that like?
A lot of these victims have injuries where they can never physically be the same person. They feel like a part of them was taken away and they'll never have their life back.
And costs can be astronomical. According to a 2021 report from the U.S. Government Accountability Office, first-year hospital costs for firearm injury victims averages from $8,000 to $11,000, and it usually adds up from there.
Being at the hospital, now they're having to go through physical therapy, missing time off of work to go to physical therapy, from losing their home, losing, their car. If they're coming to court, they're missing time off of work to come to court. Even the smallest thing like paying for parking, the gas that you have to now pay for to come to downtown for lengthy trials.
And I'd imagine it varies, but could it be like thousands of dollars?
Thousands, for sure, thousands of dollars, especially if they don't have health insurance.
Working with an advocate like Vanessa is only available to victims if their case is being prosecuted after an arrest, meaning all those unsolved cases, those victims don't have those kinds of advocates.
It's incredible to think how much this is costing individuals and the whole community. Coming up, we look at how one family is enduring a year later and how they continue to move forward.
It was June 4th, 2022, when Kim Hansen learned the worst news of her life. Her daughter Rachel had been shot and she did not survive.
A year later, Kim tells the I-Team's Erica Stapleton she's had a hard time figuring out how to live again. But every day, she does things that remind her of Rachel, trying to keep some of Rachel's light in the world.
A mother's love.
Yeah, this is her memory book.
A parent as Kim Hansen flips through the photos.
Yeah, she was precious.
From the moment Rachel joined their family.
Sweet little face.
To the moment Rachel was murdered.
Turning to Gilbert, where a 19-year-old woman called 911 Saturday morning.
That's where a woman was shot and killed inside of her apartment.
The memory books capturing the good times. Rachel Hansen, adopted at age 6, one of 14 kids in the Hansen household in Gilbert.
This is right when she came.
She loved riding horses and had a prized mare, Dash.
This is when she started riding.
After high school, Rachel was living on a ranch working with horses, and in the beginning of June 2022, she moved into a new apartment at Santan Village Parkway and Ray Road. She was there just 2 nights.
And someone broke in. They kicked her bedroom door open and she was sleeping when they shot her.
Rachel called 911 herself after she was shot. She was rushed to the hospital, but didn't survive.
And you have no idea why anyone would do that?
No, there's no motive, there's no witness, there's no weapon, there's no cameras.
And a year later, no answers. Gilbert Police says the case is still open with no new updates.
This world is hard, and it's broken, and it's fallen, and that's why these evil things happen. And maybe God took her from it.
Rachel's family left wondering and waiting through heavy, heavy grief.
It has been very difficult trying to figure out how to live life again.
And the journey a year later led to a legacy that goes beyond the memory books.
Come on, baby.
Out in the Hansons' backyard, something was born from the pain.
Yeah.
An animal rescue in Rachel's honor. Dogs playing freely.
Don't chase him.
A new litter of puppies commanding attention. Goats and birds offering much needed joy.
Oh, they're just so loving.
And of course, Rachel's prized horse Dash,
Ready to eat, huh?
who now has a foal in tow.
I did not see myself being in the business of horse training again at this age.
Rachel's happy place, a sanctuary for all the animals that she loved.
I would do anything for her.
And a sanctuary for her mom.
Hanging up here is a wind chime. Every time I hear it, I just feel Rachel's presence.
Each day without Rachel. Each day without answers.
It just brings me joy.
A mother's love.
Obviously, there's a sadness, but
pulling Kim through the pain.
this is exactly what she would want.
Kim and the Gilbert Police Department are still looking for answers to solve Rachel's case. If you have any information, we'll keep this number to the Gilbert Police Department up on our screen.
Any of these unsolved cases could have a breakthrough from any witness brave enough to come forward. To share these stories or watch them again, pull out your phone and scan the QR code that's on your screen with your camera to find them all on our website.